You shouldn't be watching this video right now because what you'll learn here will take you to a point of no return. And once you receive this information, you'll see how the people around you are guiding you, how advertisements are trapping you, and how even the people you love are manipulating you. And believe me, sometimes ignorance is bliss. But since you're here anyway, I know I can't stop you. That's exactly why I'm trying to stop you. Because you've noticed, haven't you, that you want to do everything they tell you not to do, open every door they tell you not to open, read every book they tell you not to read. This is the first and darkest law of backward psychology. The human mind is naturally drawn to the forbidden because prohibition means defying authority, the pursuit of freedom, and the desire for control. Now I'm going to do an experiment for you. Are you ready? Right now, absolutely do not think of a pink elephant. I'm serious. Don't think of a pink elephant. What happened? A pink elephant immediately came to your mind, didn't it? That's the simplest proof of how your mind works. The command don't automatically triggers the desire to don't. That's why when you tell a child, don't touch that, they'll definitely touch it. When you tell your partner, you'd better not call that, they'll definitely call. When you tell an employee, you don't have to work overtime, they usually stay, because the human brain is a machine built on resistance, not direct instruction processing. So why is this the case? From an evolutionary psychology perspective, for thousands of years, humankind had to learn to defy authority, think independently, and differentiate themselves from the herd in order to survive within the tribe, because blind obedience sometimes meant death. Therefore, when told, don't do that, the brain automatically begins to question, why shouldn't I do that? Is it in my best interest or someone else's? And this questioning itself triggers the desire to act. Modern advertising knows this very well. An advertisement that says, this product isn't for everyone, actually conveys the message, you are special, this is for you, and you want to buy that product to feel special. See, prohibition and restriction are actually the most powerful tools for creating desire. Why do Hollywood films have an 18-plus age restriction? Because a 15-year-old will be curious about forbidden things and find a way to watch them. Why do luxury clubs have strict face checks at the door? Because the perception that not everyone can enter makes those inside seem more valuable. Exclusivity fuels desire, while widespread availability kills desire. Second law, the illusion of choice is more powerful than real control. Understand it this way. When I say, do this, you resist. But when I say, do A or B, you choose one or the other. And you don't realize that your real choice is not to do or not to do, but which one to do. You've already lost, because I, not you, set the rules of the game. A mother doesn't tell her child, go to sleep right away. She asks, do you want to wear blue pajamas or red? Your boss doesn't tell you, you'll work on this project. He asks, do you want to work with the morning team or the evening team? A marketer doesn't tell you, buy this. He asks, do you want 3 installments or 6? What they all have in common is this. The real decision isn't yours. You're just wandering among the options they offer, and you call it freedom. But in reality, you're a mouse in a maze. There seem to be paths, but they all lead to the same cheese. Now let's delve deeper. The most insidious version of the illusion of choice is the multiple choice trap. Why do you see 50 different types of toothpaste, 30 types of shampoo, and 40 types of detergent when you go to the market? Because too many options paralyze you, making it difficult to decide. And in the end, you either leave without buying anything or you buy the most popular one. This is where social proof comes in. You buy the product you see with the bestseller label because your brain is tired, and following the herd is the easiest path. This isn't just true in the market, it's true in every aspect of life. When choosing a university, you get lost among dozens of departments and end up choosing the one everyone else is going to. When looking for a job, you're overwhelmed by hundreds of ads and end up choosing the job that seems safest. When looking for a partner, you're overwhelmed by endless options and end up choosing the one that carries the least risk. See? Too many options aren't freedom. They're a tool of control. And unless you realize this, others will direct your life. According to psychologist Barry Schwartz's choice paradox research, a stall offering 24 different types of jam made fewer sales than a stall offering 6 types. Why? Because too many options restrict people, while too few options provide comfort. However, be aware that having no options at all creates a feeling of loss of control. Therefore, the ideal strategy is to offer 2 to 3 options, giving enough freedom but enough control. Third law: the one who hesitates wins, not the one who withdraws. This is a fundamental principle of modern dating dynamics, business negotiations, and power games. The moment you show you really want something, its value increases, but your bargaining power disappears. That's why a seller never says, "Please buy," but rather, "There's only one left. Maybe it's not for you, but let me see." That's why the person you desire never says, "I want to be with you," but rather, "Maybe we can meet. I don't know. I'm very busy." Because distance creates desire, while accessibility kills it. You run away from everything you chase, and everything you run from chases you. This is the most brutal balance of the universe. But what is the psychological origin of this? The human brain is driven by the fear of losing, not winning. The joy of winning 100 lira is not equal to the pain of losing 100 lira. The pain of loss is always stronger. This is called loss aversion bias in behavioral economics. That's why when something moves away from you, your brain sounds an alarm saying, "You're losing it, act now," and you run after it. But when something comes towards you, your brain relaxes, saying, "It's mine anyway, no need to rush," and you don't value it. That's why in relationships, the person who constantly chases after something is never valued, while the person who can sometimes disappear, sometimes seem indifferent, always stays in your mind. The same principle applies in the business world. A salesperson who tells a customer, "You should buy this," won't sell. A salesperson who says, "This product isn't for everyone. I'm not sure if it's right for you," will sell because they instill a fear of rejection in the customer, making them want to buy it to prove themselves. This isn't just manipulation. It's deciphering the codes of human nature. They conducted an experiment, offering the same job to 2 groups. To the first group, they said, "We definitely want you." To the second group, they said, "There are other candidates. Maybe you're not suitable." Guess which group put in more effort? The second. because the fear of rejection kicked in, and the ego said, I can do it. Fourth law, reverse psychology is not manipulation. It's mind engineering, and whoever uses it skillfully achieves what they want without harming anyone. For example, you want your child to study, and when you say study, they resist. But when you say, you're tired today, you can study tomorrow, they say, no, I can study, and sit down willingly. Your partner wants to go out in the evening, but you don't want to. When you say, don't go, an argument ensues, but when you say, go, but don't go if you're too tired to give me energy when you come back, they usually say, let's stay home. Because you didn't restrict their freedom, you gave them a choice, and they made their own decision. But in reality, you guided their decision-making process. Now, let's apply this to business life. You want your team to take ownership of a project, and when you say, you will do this project, you encounter internal resistance. But when you say in the meeting, this project is too difficult, maybe it would be more sensible to give it to another team. The team says, no, we'll do it, and throws themselves into the project to prove themselves. See, people respond to challenges, not orders. Nobody wants to do what's supposed to be done, but everyone wants to do what they're told they can't do, because ego kicks in. Saying, I can do it, means I'm valuable. And once you can trigger that, manipulating people becomes child's play. But be careful. If you do this constantly, people will notice and lose trust. The power of reverse psychology only emerges when it's used sparingly. Remember Tom Sawyer? He had to paint the fence, but he told his friends, this isn't something just anyone can do. It requires special skills. And his friends paid to buy the right to paint the fence. See? The job went from being a chore to a privilege. It's all a game of perception. The fifth law, people don't know what's valuable. They value what they're told. So the same water costs 5 lira in a plastic bottle, 30 lira in a restaurant, and 80 lira in a Michelin-starred restaurant. The water hasn't changed, only the label, the context, and the story have. You are the same way. What's written on your CV hasn't changed, but how you package it, how you present it, and how you place it within the narrative determines everything. Now I will tell you the darkest secret of the perception of value. Value is not objective. It is entirely perceptual, and whoever controls the perception controls the value. Why is a diamond valuable? Because it is rare? No, diamonds are abundant in the world, but De Beers created the perception of rarity by controlling diamond reserves and releasing very few onto the market for decades, while also adding emotional value with marketing that marriage proposals should be made with a diamond ring. Now, a diamond is not just a stone, but a symbol of love. You are like that too. Perhaps you have the same skills, but some people are more successful than you. Why? Because they market themselves better, tell better stories, create better context. 2 people on LinkedIn do the same job. One calls themselves a project manager, the other an organizational transformation architect. Which one seems more valuable? The second one? Because words create perception. Perception creates value, and value creates opportunity. Consider a work of art, random paint spills on a canvas, but add a description like a reflection of the artist's inner world, and suddenly it becomes a work of art and sells for millions of dollars. What changes? Only the story, only the context. But the human brain needs a story, not raw data. The sixth law: refusal is a more powerful weapon than approval, because approval creates expectation. Refusal arouses curiosity. You are someone who says yes to everything and no one appreciates you. But one day when you start saying no, everyone asks why. And that's when power shifts. The person who is always available is never important. The person who can sometimes disappear, sometimes be unreachable, sometimes say, "Not today," is always remembered. The greatest weapon of the power to refuse is this: you set boundaries, and the person who sets boundaries is in control. The person without boundaries is used. Now look around you. Look at the people who are unhappy with their lives. What do they have in common? They can't say no. They can't say no to their boss. They can't say no to their family. They can't say no to their friends. And in the end, their lives become overflowing with the desires of others, leaving no room for their own desires. Saying no isn't aggression. Saying, "No, I can't do that right now because my priorities are different," is maturity. Saying, "No, this goes against my values," is strength. Saying, "No, I suggest this instead," is leadership. And once you start saying no, people value your yes more because your approval isn't given for free anymore. It has to be earned. Psychologists call this the effort justification effect. Seventh law: asking directly is begging, while direct suggestion is control. If you ask your boss, "Do you want a raise?" they might give it, they might not. But if you say, "I've performed exceptionally well on this project, my skills are in high demand. I want to continue with you, but I need to be valued," you're no longer asking for a raise. You've offered an option, and your boss will feel like they're making the decision themselves and will give you a raise. The power of indirect communication lies in this: it protects the ego. Nobody wants to give the feeling of, "I told you so, and you did it." Everyone wants to feel, "I made my own decision." Socrates understood this thousands of years ago, which is why he used the Socratic method. Not answering people, but asking questions, and guiding people to find their own answers through his questions, because people resist what others say, but cling to the answer they find themselves. The eighth law: instead of saying, "Don't," say, "You can," but bear the consequences. Because the first is a command, the second is a transfer of responsibility. Don't tell your child, "Don't be late." Say, "Play until whatever time you want, but you'll be tired tomorrow, and you'll still have to go to school." This way, you're not prohibiting. They're setting their own boundaries, and most importantly, they can't blame you when the outcome is bad, because the decision is theirs. The best part of this approach is that you're giving them both freedom and control. The ninth law: curiosity is the father of manipulation. People cannot tolerate what they do not know. The formula for creating curiosity is: give information, but don't give everything. Open the door, but don't open it completely. Show the light, but don't show the way. People feel an instinctive compulsion to complete unfinished things. This is called the Zeigarnik effect. Why is curiosity such a powerful weapon? Because the human brain dislikes uncertainty. The unknown creates stress, and the brain begins to search for answers to relieve this stress. 10th law: conditioning creates automatic obedience. Pavlov did this with dogs, but everyone does it to you too. Checking your phone every time it vibrates, releasing dopamine with every notification. all of this is conditioning. The most insidious form of conditioning is emotional conditioning. A brand uses a specific piece of music in every advertisement. After a while, when you hear that music, you remember the brand because the brain learns from repetition. Once learned, it becomes automatic. You no longer need to think about it. It becomes a reflex. The 11th law: social proof is the greatest enemy of free will. No matter how free-thinking you believe yourself to be, you are inclined to do what the majority does. Solomon Asch's famous conformity experiment proved this. People were shown lines of clearly different lengths, and the actual subject gave the clearly wrong answer 75% of the time. Why? Because conforming to the group is a stronger instinct than conforming to the truth. But the real power lies here: being able to break away from the herd, not to follow the path everyone else is taking. The 12th law: emotional dependence creates a stronger bond than rational attachment. The power of emotional connection far exceeds rationality, because emotions are stored in deeper layers of the brain. If you explain something logically to someone, they will forget. But if you make them experience an emotion, they will never forget. A study showed that people make 95% of their purchasing decisions emotionally, then justify them logically. In other words, we feel first, then deceive ourselves into thinking, "I made a logical decision." The 13th and final law. This is the most dangerous aspect of psychopsychology. When using it, don't forget that you are also being used. Right now, as you watch this video, I made you watch it by saying, "You shouldn't watch it." I took away your freedom of choice by offering you options. I guaranteed you would watch it to the end by arousing your curiosity. And now you are thinking, is this being done to me too? That's the curse of knowledge. Once you see it everywhere. But that's the power. Knowing hurts, but it sets you free. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm waiting for your answer in the comments. After watching this video, who manipulates you the most in your life, and are you aware of it? Maybe your family, maybe your boss, maybe your partner, or maybe most of all, yourself. Most of the time, you are the one manipulating yourself. When you tell yourself, "I can't, it's not worth it, it's impossible," you are actually applying self-deprecating psychology. That's the main purpose of this video. Not just to show you how others control you, but to make you realize how you limit yourself. And now I'll give you one last strategy. First, go to the comments and write what bothered you the most in this video. Second, hit the like button. Third, subscribe. Fourth, turn on notifications. And finally, share this video, but only with those who are ready. Now decide. Either comment, like, subscribe, and put this information into practice, or close this video and forget everything. If you've watched this video up to this point, write, "I've learned the rules of the game," in the comments. Just write that sentence, because it's a code. See you later. Strategy always wins.